We often think about risk management as something to do to mitigate potential problems and to flag up what might be going wrong in the future. But actually, it's far more than that. And in this video, I'm going to show you how risk management can be a fundamental tool to improve some of the business challenges that you and your teams might be facing. I'm Elizabeth Harrin, I'm an author, blogger and project management trainer, and I'm delighted to be here today to share some of those thoughts with you. So the first thing I want to cover is the fact that risk management can help us break down organisational silos. You work in a cross-functional project team, I'm sure, and there is some degree of talking between the team members to get things done. When you talk about risk, you are bringing together different communities to talk about the impact of risk and how best to address it. And those risk workshops, those facilitated meetings, can be a fantastic way of breaking down the silos between different parts of your organisation. Often, to address project risk effectively, whether you are mitigating against it or trying to optimise it in the case of positive risk, you want to be working together and to find out how risk is going to impact different areas so that you can best use everybody's skills to get the best result. That cross-working environment, that sense of team spirit, addressing an issue, can be really powerful and can really help people to understand what their colleagues do in different departments, and so bring the team and therefore their colleagues in the team, the wider departments, together as well. That happens because risks often have more than just one impact. You might see the face value, but as you start to dig into it and look at residual risk, you're looking at potentially a lot of different smaller impacts. And as you come together as a team to talk about those things, that can really help break down those organisational barriers. The second thing is poor communication. The very fact that you are having talks about risk helps people communicate within the organisation. You're giving them a vocabulary and a jargon to talk about things that might go wrong or might go positively. I mean, generally, when I talk about risk, I include positive risk in my head, but it's much harder to try to say the negative risk and the positive risk. And often when we are addressing risk, management tend to want to focus on the negative stuff, the things that potential problems that we should avoid. But please believe that I understand the concepts of positive risk as well, and the concepts are still the same with what I'm talking about today. So communication and risk processes might not seem like something that goes very well together, but actually, as you talk about risk, you are improving the communication throughout the team. You are sharing more about the fundamentals of this project and how it's going to be affected. You will have clear paths of communication. You will have people take ownership for certain different steps. Teams will know the names of the people who are responsible for different areas of the risk, and that can all help just to highlight the contributions that people make and make sure everybody is up to speed with what's going on the project in the widest sense through things like risk status review meetings. So if your team struggles with communication, perhaps bringing them together around the common cause of risk could be a great way to address that. The third thing that we're going to talk about today is unengaged leadership. Now, hopefully you do not work with senior leaders who don't much care about your project. They should care because it's their baby, it's their thing that they are sponsoring, and they hopefully want the outcome and control the resources that will go into that. However, it is a truth of business that stakeholders, especially senior ones, are often very busy. And if you have no engagement from your upper leadership teams, then talking about risk can be a way of bringing them back into the project community. Risk is maybe not something that they think much about because they assume that project managers can handle it, and we can. But there are often things like 3 or 4 different recommendations about how we should best address a risk, and you need some kind of executive steer to help you decide which is going to be the best route forward to make that. So the risk management process will help because it will specify when a project sponsor needs to get involved, when a risk is outside of the tolerance limits for a project manager and the team to organise by themselves. And it can help them identify their role, find their place in the project. Often I think sponsors who don't receive any training about what it means to be a sponsor struggle with what their role actually is. And if you can give them the guidance that says when this risk happens or when we have this kind of thing that's happening on our project and it's called risk management, we need your input. It can help guide them and let them contribute in an effective way. Plus, in my experience, senior leaders love making decisions and like seeming to be useful. So if you can give them something that they need to decide on, they can become engaged in a very practical way and make a judgment call and then they permit you to go off and do the risk management activity, whatever it is that they have decreed. So sometimes that can be quite helpful as well, just to get a little bit more freshness in their engagement and bring them back into the fold. So those are 3 things that you can look at with risk management in terms of helping address other structural issues that you might be seeing within your project team or your business more generally. And those are organisational silos, poor communication, and dealing with unengaged leaders. Hopefully there's been something in there that you can take away and put into practice in your own projects, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.